The relationship between Tibet and China spans centuries, marked by periods of interaction, autonomy, and contention. The question of how Tibet became a part of China is steeped in historical complexities, geopolitical dynamics, and conflicting narratives. To understand this complex relationship, one must delve into the historical context and examine the factors that have shaped Tibet's status within the Chinese state. Historical context. Tibet, located on the high plateau of Central Asia, has a rich cultural and religious heritage dating back thousands of years. Over the centuries, Tibet developed its own distinct identity, language, and governance system centered around Buddhism and a theocratic form of government led by the Dalai Lama and other spiritual leaders. Imperial China's influence. Throughout history, Tibet maintained varying degrees of interaction with successive Chinese dynasties, including the Tang, Yuan, Ming, and Qing dynasties. While Tibet enjoyed periods of autonomy and even acted as a vassal state to China during certain periods, it was not directly ruled by the central government in Beijing. Instead, Tibet's relationship with China was characterized by a complex mix of tribute, diplomacy, and cultural exchange. The Qing dynasty and suzerainty. During the Qing dynasty 1644–1912, China asserted its authority over Tibet through a system of suzerainty, whereby Tibet recognized the Emperor of China as its nominal sovereign but retained internal autonomy. This arrangement allowed Tibet to govern its own affairs, including religious and administrative matters, while acknowledging China's overarching authority. 20th century turmoil. The early 20th century saw Tibet embroiled in internal strife and external pressures, including incursions by British and Russian imperial powers seeking to expand their influence in the region. Amid this turmoil, Tibet's relationship with China became increasingly tenuous, with competing claims to sovereignty and control. Annexation by the People's Republic of China. Following the establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949, Tibet's status within the Chinese state came under renewed scrutiny. In 1950, Chinese troops entered Tibet, leading to the signing of the 17-Point Agreement in 1951, which affirmed Tibet's autonomous status within the People's Republic of China. However, the agreement was signed under duress, and Tibetans argue that it was not a legitimate expression of their will. Tibetan resistance and exile. In 1959, a Tibetan uprising against Chinese rule was brutally suppressed, leading to the flight of the Dalai Lama and thousands of Tibetans into exile in India and other countries. Since then, Tibet has remained under Chinese control, with Beijing asserting its authority through political, economic, and social policies aimed at assimilating Tibetans into mainstream Chinese society. International recognition and disputes. The status of Tibet remains a subject of international debate and contention. While China maintains that Tibet is an integral part of its territory, Tibetans and supporters of Tibetan independence argue for recognition of Tibet's right to self-determination and autonomy. Efforts to resolve the Tibet issue through dialogue and negotiation have yielded limited results, with deep-seated mistrust and divergent interests complicating the path towards a resolution. Conclusion. The question of how Tibet became a part of China is a complex and contentious issue, shaped by centuries of historical interactions, geopolitical rivalries, and conflicting interpretations of sovereignty. While China asserts its authority over Tibet based on historical claims and political control, Tibetans continue to advocate for recognition of their cultural identity, religious freedom, and right to self-governance. As the debate over Tibet's status continues, the plight of the Tibetan people serves as a reminder of the enduring struggle for human rights, dignity, and self-determination in an ever-changing world.